Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into a crucial question about faith. Really what a true life of faith actually entails.
Yeah, and our source material today, it really challenges some common ideas. It suggests maybe we've only seen, a tiny fraction of the Bible's full picture on this.
Only a tiny fraction. Okay.
Exactly. So our mission really is to dig into that, find some insights on perseverance and the connection between belief and action, what we say versus what we do.
Right. So you mentioned that tiny fraction. What are some of these missing pieces then? What gets emphasized maybe too much, giving us that, incomplete view?
Well, the sources point out that sometimes how we define faith or prayer or spiritual gifts, it might not line up perfectly with the whole Bible. Sometimes sermons might focus on things that, sounded good or what people like to hear, and that can definitely lead to a partial understanding.
And I guess that partial view, it can cause real confusion, right?
Yeah.
Especially about salvation and, okay, what happens next after that initial belief? Precisely. It's like the source says, people might fall by the wayside in the wilderness even after that initial salvation moment.
Like crossing the Red Sea, that big rescue.
Yeah, exactly like that. A huge salvation event, but then maybe not reaching the destination, the promised land.
So some people might mistakenly think, okay, I believe, I crossed the Red Sea, I'm saved, job done. Like that's heaven right there.
That's a key point the source makes, yeah. Confusing that starting point with the finish line.
So the Red Sea moment, it's not the end goal. It's more like the starting pistol firing.
You got it. Salvation is absolutely by grace, through faith, no question. But the life after that, the life of a saint, it's described as much more diverse.
Diverse how?
It's about, really encountering God's heart in his word, living a life that witnesses, that builds life, giving birth to life, living obediently.
Okay.
And there's this powerful line. What the Bible says is not knowledge is power, but living as you know is power and ability.
Wow. Living as you know is power. That really hits differently. So what happens if we don't? If we insist on living life our own way, as the source puts it?
Well, the text suggests that if we do that, even after salvation by grace, that relationship with God can be, broken. It can stop us from entering the rest that God provides.
That deeper peace and connection, you mean?
Exactly, that spiritual fulfillment. So this isn't just abstract theology, it affects our actual lives.
Okay, so if how we live after salvation is that critical, where do we look for clear, practical advice on this? This active living faith?
For that, the source points us directly to the book of James. It's called Vital for Understanding What a True Life of Faith Is.
And the author is James, Jesus' own brother.
That's right. Apparently he didn't believe initially, but then after meeting the resurrected Jesus, he was transformed, became a really upright leader in the Jerusalem church.
Quite the turnaround, from skeptic to pillar.
Definitely. And he wrote his letter to Jewish Christians who were scattered among the nations because of persecution. His main goal, to teach the correct relationship between faith and works. He was pushing back against maybe some misunderstandings about justification by faith alone.
The idea that just believing is enough, no action needed.
Kind of, maybe an oversimplification of it. James saw a failure to teach the saints' mission to live a life of perfect faith with works. He's connecting belief and action.
Which brings us to that big question a lot of us probably wonder about, maybe quietly. Is salvation eternal? Completely, regardless of how we live afterwards. Does James tackle that?
He does, quite directly. James is really clear that this path of faith, it is not an easy and comfortable path. It's explicitly a path that requires patience.
Patience, okay, and more.
Yes, it demands, and this is strong language, life-risking obedience to uphold the values God has given even to death.
Life-risking obedience, that's intense. It really challenges that comfort-seeking tendency many of us have. So for you listening, maybe ask yourself, has your faith lost some of that initial fire, that gratitude and emotion for that first love?
Does it become maybe a bit dull and blunt?
Yeah. Or are we complaining, finding ourselves resisting, having to take responsibility for the poor and weak, feeling burdened by it?
Look, God always encourages us, right? He wants to strengthen us. But the source warns that when we avoid what we must bear and make excuses or just flat out insist on going our own way, then we're choosing a different path. And ultimately we face the natural consequences of those choices. We step away from his best plan for us.
This deep dive really pushes us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To look past just an initial belief and embrace a faith that's well lived, act it out day by day.
It really does. It encourages us to ask ourselves, is my faith just about receiving things from God? Or am I, willingly exerting myself to live according to the values of faith? And can I find real joy and delight in that effort?
So the final thought for you listening today is this. Are you ready to commit to a faith that might ask for perseverance that endures even to death? A faith that genuinely changes how you act, even when, maybe especially when, it gets tough? Something to really think about.